"Oh, yay. I've saved quite a bit," I said, grinning at my phone. My name is Ruth. I'm a 29-year-old married woman balancing a job and home life. Even if my coworkers think it's weird, I can't stop smiling. We're finally close to saving enough money to build our dream home. The bank balance displayed on my phone screen is almost at our goal. My husband Cody and I, who met and married at work, don't have kids yet. We've always planned to have children after we get our house. I wanted to enjoy my single life a bit longer, but Cody, who's in his mid-30s, pushed for marriage when I was 27. It's awkward working at the same place as my husband, even if we're in different departments. Changing jobs would mean a pay cut. So I kept working, and we're finally one step away from buying our house. It's been a long journey. We don't have any major problems, and both our jobs and savings are going well. A simple marriage, a simple job, and soon, a simple home. I thought that continuing this ordinary life would make me happiest. But life isn't always smooth sailing. The biggest challenge in my marriage is dealing with my in-laws. After work, I return to our small rented apartment. It's a bit cramped for 2 people, but we're saving up for our house, so we make do. The moment I open the front door and see the shoes there, my exhaustion doubles. She's here again. I sigh to myself. I'm home. Oh, welcome back. You're late, says my mother-in-law Zoe, not Cody. She's sprawled out on the sofa in our tiny apartment. Good evening, Zoe. Do you always come home this late? Cody's parents live just 2 train stops away, close enough to drop by frequently. Zoe often comes over without worrying about the distance. What about Cody's dinner? She asks. She never says a kind word when I get home late from work, only complaints. Sorry, work was really busy. I'll get dinner ready right away. Cody's home way earlier, even though you work at the same company. Ugh, you're so inefficient. Our departments are completely different. Cody's department rarely has overtime, but the pay is low. My department is the backbone of the company, with many important projects that require overtime. In return, it pays the highest. It'd be nice if Cody would explain this to his mom, but his pride stops him from saying anything, so he just sips his coffee silently. We're both working, so he could at least help out with the housework a bit. But no, he does nothing. Shopping, laundry, cleaning, cooking, everything falls on me. When he gets home from work, he's either watching TV or fiddling with his smartphone. Zoe doesn't know this and continues her complaints. Don't bother, we've already had dinner. What? You already ate? Yes, we had some delicious seafood. I treated my son to something nice for a change. I see. I almost jumped when I heard the name of the high-end restaurant. If Zoe paid, there's nothing I can do about it, I thought as I headed to the kitchen to make my own dinner. But then she stopped me. Ruth, I need a favor. I had a bad feeling. Things are tight this month. Could you lend me some money? Of course. She frequently asks for money. Seriously? You just ate at a fancy seafood place. Didn't you ask for money last month too? And I gave you $500. And the month before that. I wanted to tell her she's the one who's inefficient, but I forced a strained smile instead. Sorry, we're tight this month too. Ugh, how heartless, not helping out when your parents are struggling. Who's really being heartless here, though? Your son doesn't lift a finger around the house and goes out for fancy meals. Then Cody finally speaks up. You're so stingy, Ruth. Mom's in a tough spot. Help her out a bit. But we really can't afford it this month. I'll help you out, Mom. Cody sighs, pulling out his wallet and handing her $700. You're such a good boy, Cody. My pride and joy. Like Ruth. Zoe glared at me before heading to the door. I felt a bit relieved until she turned back with another glare. Cody, if you ever want to leave this money-grabbing wife of yours, you can always come home.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
She slammed the door behind her. What was that about? I demanded. Cody was already back on the sofa with his phone. Why did you give her $700? If we have that kind of money, it should go to our household expenses. I have a reason for saying this. Cody pays the rent for this apartment, but that's it. I pay for all the utilities, internet, groceries, and other expenses. The reason is simple. He won't pay.
What are you talking about? I pay the rent, don't I? You want me to pay more? Huh, what a greedy woman.
He always refuses to give money. I pay for everything else, including the phone bill for that smartphone you're holding.
That's only fair. You make more money than I do.
But not by much. I'm barely getting by with all the household expenses and trying to save.
Oh, you can save? Then you're fine, see?
He reaches out his hand when I mention saving. What are you doing?
I gave my mom $700 and now I'm broke. Give me some spending money.
No way. You keep your entire paycheck for yourself except for the rent. Every month he complains about not having enough, saying he has to entertain clients and maintain connections, and I've always reluctantly given him money. But not today. Giving you money is the same as giving it to your mom. Why should I pay for your seafood dinners?
It's called being a good son.
What about me? Neither Cody nor his mother ever appreciates what I do. I'm just losing money. And what was that about, considering divorce? I ask.
Exactly what it sounded like. If you keep being stingy, I might have to consider it.
With that, he locks himself in the bedroom, leaving me to sleep on the couch. In our small apartment, there aren't many options. Amid these stressful days, my only solace is checking my bank balance. After enduring another round of complaints and demands for money from my mother-in-law, I opened my savings account on my phone at work. Just a little more and we'll have our house, I thought, but then I froze. What the hell? I exclaimed, standing up abruptly and apologizing to my boss before rushing home. Cody, are you here?
What's going on? You're home early?
He said wide-eyed. Before him was an array of expensive seafood. And he wasn't alone. Oh, welcome back, Ruth. Zoe greeted me.
We're just having a little seafood feast,
added my father-in-law. My in-laws were both here. What on earth were they doing? What's going on here? Just eating some seafood. Want some lobster? She offered. Where did you get the money for this?
Oh, we had a bit of a windfall,
Cody said. Windfall? I demanded, closing in on him. Panicking, Cody and his parents exchanged nervous glances. Desperate, Cody handed me a bank book, the one I'd just checked online. I flipped it open and stared in shock. What is this? How did you withdraw this money?
I guessed your PIN and it worked,
he said, grinning. You guessed? You stole my money. This is my savings from before we got married. The money I'd painstakingly saved as a single woman was gone. He admitted it without a hint of remorse, laughing.
Come on, we're married. What's yours is mine.
Don't be ridiculous. This is my hard-earned savings. Give it back. Now, Ruth, what's this all about? A wife's money is her husband's money.
While he supports you, you're secretly saving up all this money. You really are greedy. Right? You should be grateful for what you have. Who do you think you're living off of?
I couldn't believe it. I was surrounded by enemies. What the hell? This is theft. Give me my money back.
Who's being ridiculous now?
The word thief clearly startled him. Irritated, he said,
I pay the rent and entertain clients and help my parents.
Yeah, Cody is such a good son.
You only make me pay the rent, while you save up all this money. Huh, must be nice for you.
You pay only the rent. And there are barely any client dinners. You ask me for money while helping your parents.
Shut up. You're the wife. You should listen to me and my parents.
What?
You should be grateful I'm not divorcing you.
Cody shouted, yanking me toward the door and throwing me out. Hey!
You're not getting any of this seafood. Go cool off outside.
I never expected to be thrown out. I was in shock for a while, but eventually I decided to stay at a business hotel for the night. The next day, when I returned home, only my husband was there. I was relieved that his parents were gone until he handed me a piece of paper. It was a divorce application with his section already filled out. What's this?
Listen, if you complain to me again, I'll file for divorce. If you don't want that, you better do as I say. I'll be handling the savings from now on,
he said, waving the bank book in front of me before heading out. Where are you going?
Out for a drink. Got a problem with that? I'll divorce you,
he said with a sneer and left. What an idiot. Did he really think I would just obey because he threatened me with divorce? I had already lost all my love for him. Plus, he didn't know that I had already moved all the money from that account to another one. I had multiple accounts because I didn't trust keeping all my savings in one place. The account he had was just one of many. I filled out my section of the divorce papers. What a fool. Leaving a signed divorce application. It was exactly what I wanted. I packed my things and left the house. After another night at the business hotel, I took a day off work to file divorce papers at the city office as soon as it opened. Then I went straight to a real estate agency. The previous night at the hotel, I had found a new listing for a house that caught my eye. It was a newly built single-family home close to the station, perfect for commuting. It was almost love at first sight, with the exterior and interior exactly as I imagined. I toured the house and decided to buy it on the spot. After that, it was a whirlwind of activity. Since staying at a hotel was too expensive, I explained the situation to a friend and stayed with them while preparing to move into my new home. I had to buy all new furniture and take care of various procedures. I was so busy that I almost forgot about my ex-husband and ex-in-laws.
Hey, Ruth.
One day, Cody showed up at my office, startling me. I had forgotten we worked at the same company. He called out loudly, drawing everyone's attention, and walked straight to my desk.
Why haven't you been answering your phone?
I just didn't feel like it. He had been calling nonstop, but I was too busy and didn't want to deal with it.
You withdrew money from our account, didn't you? What the hell? Why haven't you come home? Do you really want a divorce?
It's fine. We're already divorced, and that money is mine to use as I please. He still thought he could use divorce as leverage. When I said it so casually, he looked stunned. What's with that dumb look? It's hilarious.
What? We're divorced? You can't be serious.
You prepared the papers, so I filed them. Thanks for that.
I don't accept this.
It's done. I've already informed the company and completed the procedures. You should tell your boss, too. I turned back to my computer, indicating the conversation was over. I was too busy for this.
Where are you living now? Your stuff is still at the house.
I took what I needed. I'm living comfortably in a new place.
Where exactly?
That's none of your business. It's a private matter, and you have no right to know. He fell silent, clearly embarrassed by the stares of my coworkers and boss. Eventually, he left without another word. You've had it rough, a coworker sympathized. My new home was perfect. The fresh smell of a new constructed house was delightful, and it was spacious and comfortable. But I still needed a lot of things since I had just moved in. Today, I was expecting a delivery of some appliances I ordered online. The doorbell rang, and I opened the door thinking it was the delivery. I instantly regretted it. I cursed myself for not checking the intercom. Standing there was Zoe? I blurted out in surprise. It was my mother-in-law, rather, my ex-mother-in-law. Behind her were my ex-father-in-law and Cody.
Long time no see, Ruth. We're coming in,
Zoe said, barging in without waiting for a response, examining my house as if appraising it.
This is a nice place. The furniture is great too. Put it in my room.
The bedroom is big too. Perfect. This will be our room.
Wait a minute.
Ugh, these curtains are awful. I'll pick new ones, so give me money.
The yard is spacious too. I might start a garden.
What were they talking about? I turned to Cody, bewildered. Cody, what's going on?
Be happy, Ruth.
Zoe interrupted before I could get an answer. She looked smug.
It's not much of a house, but it's good enough as a gift to your parents-in-law. We'll move in since it's a 2-family home.
What?
Of course, you, our daughter-in-law, will do all the housework and we'll need a $1,500 monthly allowance.
What? Were they from another planet? I was completely baffled. You called me your daughter-in-law, but I'm single now.
What?
Zoe looked shocked. I was just as surprised. Cody, you didn't tell them?
I don't accept it,
he yelled. But the divorce was final. We were strangers now. Zoe's face turned pale.
What? You're abandoning us, your family?
My parents live in the countryside. I'm planning to bring them here soon.
Ugh, don't be ridiculous. This house is ours.
No, it's mine. I bought it with my money. What was she talking about? This house was bought with my hard-earned savings.
Where are we supposed to live then?
That's not my problem. They had sold their house, planning to live off the money and what they could take from me. It was a terrifying scheme.
I don't care. I won't accept this,
she kept saying. But it didn't matter. We were strangers now, and this house was mine.
No, I don't accept it,
she screamed, ripping down the curtains in a rage. Hey, what are you doing?
These ugly things are going. This is my house, and I'll do what I want.
That's right. What's yours is mine, and what's mine is mine. We're not getting divorced, and my parents and I will live here.
Cody was shouting too. Things were getting out of control. Just then I heard sirens. When they had barged in, I had secretly called the police. Finally, they arrived.
What are you doing?
We didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, take her instead.
They were being so obnoxious, trespassing and vandalizing my property. Didn't they know these were crimes? After the police calmed things down, they were taken away but not arrested. Oh, what a day. After their release, Cody kept coming back trying to reconcile, but every time he did, the police got involved. He even stalked me at work, but after I reported him, he got a stern warning from our boss. His misuse of my savings and invasion of my new home had spread through the office, making him a pariah. Eventually, he quit his job, struggling to find new work. His parents moved into the cheap apartment we had shared, using the little money from selling their house. That old house didn't sell for much. The three of them would have to scrape by in that cramped apartment. Finally free, I enjoyed my new home. I asked my parents to come live with me, but they preferred the countryside for now. So I embraced the solitude. If I found a good match, I might consider remarriage, but for now, I was happy alone. I wanted to get a dog, something I couldn't do in the apartment. Maybe start a garden and host friends for home parties. Looking out at the blue sky, I thought about all the things I could do now and felt optimistic about the future.
My Mill. My son hasn't visited me in the hospital. Me. He's supposed to be visiting you every day. Mill. What? 3 months later.
The typical relationship between a wife and her mother-in-law often carries a negative image. When living together, it can escalate to a level of outright hostility. But in my case, it's nothing like that at all. I feel truly grateful to have such kind in-laws. My name is Sally, a 29-year-old working housewife. I live with my husband Mark and his parents. We didn't always live together, but in the 3rd year of our marriage, my mother-in-law Teresa's legs got worse, and she couldn't move around as she used to. That was the start of our living arrangement. When they asked us to live together, I had my concerns. But since I had a good relationship with them, I didn't think negatively and accepted it. Living together didn't worsen our relationship, and our daily life was peaceful. We kept a good distance from each other and got along well. However, that peace vanished suddenly one day. Teresa was hospitalized due to the worsening of a chronic illness. It wasn't life-threatening, but given her age and bad legs, the medication wasn't as effective and her symptoms suddenly worsened. She had to undergo numerous tests, surgery, and rehabilitation, leading to a long-term hospital stay. And naturally, the burden fell on me. While my father-in-law, Jack, had always tried to handle household chores under Teresa's supervision, he struggled due to his age and old-fashioned ways. With Teresa gone, he kept making mistakes, and his body started to fail him as well. There was no way he could take care of Teresa in the hospital. As a result, I had even more responsibilities. After work, I had to clean the house, do the laundry, prepare dinner, and get the bath ready. After that, I prepared for the next day, including making lunch bags for me and my husband, and Jack's lunch. All this with a tired body from work. I'd want my husband to help, but he's been busier lately and comes home late, sometimes not until after midnight. But I have my limits too. So I asked, "Could you help a little?" When Mark came home late, he'd eat and bathe, then just lounge around. On weekends, he'd go out and hang out with his friends. I said, "That's not fair. Help out a bit." But he responded, "If it's that hard, why don't you just quit your job?" I said, "I can't do that. If our income drops, it'll be tough on the household." He responded, "You're making less than me anyway, so it won't make much difference." "But if I quit, it'll cause problems at work." "Don't be so full of yourself. They won't miss you if you leave." Wow, that's harsh, I thought, feeling hurt by his attitude. But one day, my frustration was suddenly resolved. Mark apologized. "I'm sorry for dumping everything on you. It's my parents, after all. I'll help more." I wanted to say, "What's gotten into you all of a sudden?" But I didn't. He suddenly changed like a different man. When I looked at him with a puzzled expression, I noticed Jack looking at me apologetically. Turns out, Jack had scolded him. Jack said, "I'm sorry for making you do everything, Sally. I should be doing more, but it's a problem if my son isn't helping. I told him to find a new job if his company won't let him take time off to take care of his family." Uh-huh. It seemed the words of his father had more weight than mine. But in any case, it was a relief to have his help, but it led to a new set of problems. I didn't ask him to prepare dinner, just to make lunch once a week. The rest of the time, I do it. Not much change. If I asked him to do laundry, he'd put too much detergent or forget fabric softener, leaving clothes stiff. If I asked him to hang the laundry, he'd just throw it on without smoothing out wrinkles. Can't he at least spread out the towels? Never mind already. I'd ask him to bring in the dry clothes, and when I came back from shopping, it would start raining and the clothes would be left out. So typical of him. I'd ask, "Why didn't you bring them in?" And he'd say, "They weren't dry yet." Unbelievable. He'd mess up cleaning and everything else. He had a knack for making things worse. I tried to gently correct him, but he never improved. I realized he wasn't gonna get better. So I was still doing most of the household chores, and my frustration only grew. But at least he worried about his mother. He visited her daily, which was commendable. I couldn't go every day due to my busy schedule. Jack, who used to visit often, had to stop due to his own health issues and seemed lonely. I asked Mark to bring his mother's laundry and check on her needs, but he said, "She uses the hospital's washer, and she messages me if she needs anything." He assured me not to worry because he visited daily, but he did nothing else. If nothing is added and nothing is taken away, it's a single malt whiskey. But my husband does nothing and achieves nothing. He's like a plain ethanol. While Jack used to bring messages from Teresa, Mark didn't. It made me uneasy, and I wondered if she thought he was unreliable. He said they exchanged messages, but she was a patient and didn't always keep her phone on. When she did reply, her messages were often unclear because of typos. Mark didn't hear again today. What does that mean? Teresa, please check your messages before sending. With Jack still unwell and me unable to visit the hospital for a week, Mark remained useless. Frustrated, I took a day off to visit the hospital. Visiting after work and doing chores at home was impossible. Unlike my husband, who didn't have anything to do after getting home, I still had a lot of chores to do. So I went to see Teresa after a long time. She was happy to see me and loved the yogurt I brought her. That made me feel it was worth the visit. "Sorry I couldn't come often, Teresa," I said. "It's okay. Thanks for handling everything at home. I hope Jack isn't causing trouble," she asked. "Not at all. He's just worn out from overdoing it after you were hospitalized. But he's feeling better with the healthy meals I've been making, and he should be able to visit soon." "That's wonderful," she said. Despite their age, my in-laws are still very close. But no matter how busy I was, Mark would be lounging on the couch, glued to his phone, even with my efforts to teach him household chores. We barely talked anymore. It made me wonder if we could even call ourselves a couple. Teresa noticed my sadness. "Are you okay, Sally? You look exhausted. Please rest and don't worry about me," she said, concerned. "Oh, I'm fine. I just wish Mark would help more, I admitted. I didn't want to complain to her about her own son, but I needed someone to listen. She sighed in agreement. "Oh, Mark. But then her next words shocked me. "Since I was hospitalized, he hasn't visited once." What did she just say? I couldn't believe my ears. She smiled sadly. "I texted you about it the other day. I know he's busy and all, but I wish he'd visit even once." Ah, that misspelled message. It meant Mark isn't here again today. Okay, that makes sense. Now I feel better. Not. So he said he had been visiting his mother every day, but he hadn't been visiting her at all. What's going on? I was scared but decided to ask her. "So, Mark?" "Yeah? He's supposed to be visiting you every day." "He is?" We stared at each other in disbelief. It made sense now. Despite claiming to visit daily, he never brought laundry home or took anything to her. He wasn't the type to do this daily. I knew my husband's nature. Someone that diligent wouldn't leave laundry out in the rain. Could it be? I muttered, and Teresa looked at me worriedly. 3 months passed. I got used to the busy days, figuring out how to manage. I packed my bags as I pondered such things. I took a day off today because it was going to be hectic. And before I knew it, it was night. As I finished cleaning after dinner, I heard the door open. I'm home. Ugh, I'm exhausted, Mark said, returning at his usual late hour, just before 9 p.m. Late again. Welcome home. Still working late, huh? I greeted him, and he frowned. What's with that attitude? I'm visiting Mom every day, even when I'm tired from work. If you have time to be sarcastic, make a better dinner. He snapped. Normally, that would irritate me, but I let him get away, knowing what was coming for him. I held back my laughter. You visited your mom again today? Visiting hours are over, you know. Yeah, I told you. I'm family, so it's fine. That's right. Sorry. So, how's she doing? Yeah, good. She's getting better and might be discharged soon. Oh, is that so? Yeah, what's with that tone? You sound like you don't want her to be discharged. You're a terrible wife, you know that? His words made me furious, so I decided to reveal the truth. I moved closer to him. Is she really getting discharged soon? Yeah, she is. Are you insinuating that I'm lying? Yes, I am. You just lied in my face. Excuse me? I did not lie. Take a look at this, then, I said, leading him to the door to his parents' room. I dramatically opened the door as my husband looked around. What the? Here she is. Your very healthy mom. What? He was stunned to see his mother standing there. And she's looking furious. Why is she here? He stammered. What do you think? She was discharged today. She was? Yep, this morning. That's right. Today, Teresa was happily discharged from the hospital. I took the day off to pick her up and handle the discharge procedures. Why didn't you tell me? That's strange. You visit her daily, right? Since you were there yesterday, why would you not know about it? Well, He couldn't respond. And wait a minute. You just told me you visited her today, but she was discharged this morning. How weird is that? Who did you visit at the hospital? Her ghost? Ooh, so spooky. I mocked. He was speechless. Just then, a voice boomed. You fool! Jack, now fully recovered, was furious. You lied about visiting your mother to meet your lover. Enough is enough. How do you know? We know everything. Thinking you wouldn't get caught is foolish. That's right. Mark was cheating. 3 months ago, after learning he wasn't visiting his mom, I hired a PI. Today was the day I'd planned for. You have no idea how long I've waited for this day to come. Switching from a joking attitude to a serious one, I silently handed my husband a large envelope. Trembling, he took it and opened it. Divorce papers? Yes, that's right. I've filled my part. Just need your signature. Why? Why? You're having an affair while dumping everything on me. Did you think I'd tolerate it? But I don't want a divorce. Oh, listen to yourself. You love Tara so much so that you need to visit her every day, right? How do you know her name? I had you investigated. The envelope has proof. I hear she's your coworker. Well, I've already spoken to your company. The alimony will come from your salary with your consent. Alimony? Uh-huh. And from your girlfriend, too.
What?
I met her when I spoke to your company. She broke down in front of her boss, but it's her fault. She didn't tell you?
No, I haven't been able to reach her lately. She never shows up at the hotel anymore. Oh, whoops.
And there's your confession. Every night with her. How lovely. But don't worry, you can be with her all you want from now on. She says she's moving back home after she quits her job, so you can join her.
No, I don't want that.
My husband, infatuated with this young coworker, had been cheating while leaving me with all responsibilities. At first, he claimed he was working late. After Jack scolded him, he lied about visiting his mother. What feelings could I possibly have to such a husband?
Oh, Mark, I'm so disappointed in you. I didn't raise you to be this way. Mom.
Cheating is bad enough, but neglecting Sally and me is worse.
We're done with you. You're not my son anymore. Pack your things and leave.
Her words were powerful.
But Mom, I have nowhere to go.
Just go to some hotel, I said, smirking. Then tearfully, he pleaded.
No, I don't want a divorce. And I don't want to leave this house. I want to stay here.
Of course he wants to stay here. All he does is dump all the chores onto me, eat meals prepared for him, shower, and just lays around. He'd enjoy the comforts of home, but it was too late. I smiled and told him, go to hell. And after that, my husband became my ex-husband. Yes, we got divorced. He and his mistress left their jobs and paid alimony from their severance pay. She moved back home, and he tried to follow, but she slapped him and ended it. Now he lives in a shabby apartment working day labor. He pays the remaining alimony from his meager earnings. Occasionally, he tries to return home, but Teresa shuts him out. I saw him leaving his parents' house in tears once and couldn't stop laughing. A few years later, I remarried. My new in-laws are wonderful. Peter and I had a lovely daughter despite my late pregnancy. Holding her, I said to him, I have a request.
What is it?
Can they meet our baby? I was referring to my former in-laws, who treated me like their own daughter. I lost my parents early, so they were like real parents to me. My ex-husband was a real jerk, but I loved his parents. Peter knew I stayed in touch with them, though he might not like it. I asked him hesitantly, but he smiled and said,
Of course. They're important to you. Let's visit them.
His understanding made me cry. My first marriage was a mistake, but it led me to wonderful people. I'm grateful for meeting such kind souls. As I thought about this, the baby in my arms smiled.
After losing my legs, my in-laws scorned me and insisted divorce. But they changed their attitude when they heard about my huge savings.
Such an inept slacker. You should hurry up and cut ties with my son as soon as possible.
My husband's parents cruelly demanded a divorce from me, who had lost both legs in a traffic accident and was forced to live in a wheelchair. It pains me to think about my husband's burden, but he always supports me with kindness. He encourages me to overcome this ordeal together. What are they plotting, trampling on their son's sincerity? There are times when I feel like giving up, but I can't just sit and let time pass. I will expose their conspiracy with my husband's help. I am Stacy, 30 years old. My husband Finn is 32 years old. I studied music at a university and aspired to become an opera singer while working in sales for a major musical instrument manufacturer. I met Finn 3 years ago through an acquaintance, and we quickly started dating. That was just about the time when I had returned from studying abroad in Germany and joined a Japanese music agency, and I was starting to pass domestic opera auditions one after another. It was a time when the path to becoming an opera singer, a dream I've had since childhood, was opening up. So when Finn proposed to me during those days, I could confidently accept it.
Having an opera singer for a wife is quite impressive, isn't it?
Yes, for sure. I'm so happy our son found such a wonderful lady.
Both my parents-in-law and my parents were overjoyed. We had a grand wedding inviting many friends. Though there were some adjustments we had to make for our newlywed life, Finn was kind and we respected each other, so there were no misunderstandings. We also had a good relationship with my parents and in-laws, occasionally going out for meals together. During this peak of happiness, that day I had gone back to my parents' house alone. Finn was at work and I had the day off. I would have been bored if I had stayed at home alone, so I decided to relax at my parents' house. My parents and I decided to have lunch out and we had our father drive. It was then that our car my father was driving got into an accident and my parents passed away. I also lost both my legs in that accident. Of course, I could no longer stand on the opera stage and I had to withdraw from all the auditions I had passed. The music agency also terminated my contract. Losing my parents, my legs, and my dream, I was in despair. Adding to my misery, my in-laws' attitude drastically changed.
We can't accept a daughter-in-law who loses her job so soon after marriage. You're worthless.
That's right, and with that body you can't possibly find another job. Just divorce my son already.
My in-laws would deliberately visit the hospital at different times from Finn and repeatedly berate me. Shocked by the accident and the loss of my parents, I took their words to heart. Finn, I'm only causing you trouble. No one would blame you if you left me. For your sake, let's get a divorce. In my lowest mental state, when I told him this, Finn still gently stood by me.
It's impossible that you're only causing trouble. As long as you're with me, I have the strength to keep going.
But your parents... When I told him his parents' words, Finn became furious.
What? They said that? I'm truly sorry. I won't let those two see you anymore. So please, don't talk about divorce.
I cried my heart out at Finn's words. Although my mental state didn't recover immediately, Finn continued to support me warmly. Thanks to my husband's support and treatment, by the time I was discharged from the hospital, I was determined to continue our married life. Then a few months passed. Although I still occasionally cried when I remembered what I had lost, Finn and I were leading a peaceful life together. I had become somewhat accustomed to life in a wheelchair and started to take on new challenges with a positive attitude, which Finn warmly washed over. However, these calm days were shattered by the sudden visit of my husband's parents.
Stacy, we've come to see you.
Hey, hurry up and let us in.
I was surprised to see my in-laws when I answered the intercom on a day when Finn was out. Why? As I managed to open the door in my wheelchair, my in-laws entered the house without hesitation.
Why? We came because we were worried about you two.
You've always been an inconsiderate daughter-in-law. It's them who are the inconsiderate ones. While making harsh remarks, they looked around the living room.
I thought you'd be living sloppily because you're disabled, but it's not too bad.
My father-in-law started opening drawers and rifling through the magazine rack. Please, stop. Why have you come to visit us now? I angrily asked as I finally caught up to them in my wheelchair, and they both let out deep sighs.
I told you we came to check on you because we were worried.
Yeah, Stacy, you really are a rude daughter-in-law. Can't you at least serve us something to drink? Oh, with that body, I guess you can't.
My father-in-law sneered while glancing at my legs. His cruel smile made me want to cry.
Oh, poor Finn. Marrying a woman who can't do anything, having to take care of her. We'll have to come and support him more often.
At my mother-in-law's sudden decision, I hastily shook my head. No, thank you. We have enough hands around here.
There's no way you have enough. Do you understand that you're a burden? You have no right to refuse.
You useless freeloader, keep your mouth shut. We're just worried about our dear Finn.
When they said it was for Finn's sake, I couldn't argue back. It's true that I was causing him a lot of trouble with my situation.
Well, we'll be going for the day. We'll come again.
After they had looked around the house, they suddenly left. Their visit was like a storm, leaving me exhausted in my wheelchair. Will they really come again? Why, all of a sudden? I spent the time until Finn came home feeling uneasy.
What? My parents came here? Why?
Finn, who returned home late from work, was genuinely surprised by his parents' visit. They said they came because they were worried about our living situation.
How could they say such horrible things to you? I'll message them to find out what they were thinking.
But Finn, you're busy, so you don't have to rush. You have a long business trip coming up. Finn was about to go on a week-long overseas business trip. I didn't want him to worry about things at home.
Thank you, Stacy. Make sure to take it easy while I'm away.
My husband always cares for me. If only those parents weren't around. But if they come again, I can just pretend not to be home. I felt a little guilty, but I needed to prioritize my mental health. But this naive thought later turned into regret.
Stacy, are you here? We've come.
As soon as Finn left for his trip, my in-laws opened the front door and entered the house. What? Why are you two?
Why? We told you before. We came because we're worried about you two. Did you forget? You really are an incompetent daughter-in-law.
No, not the reason for coming. How did you get in without a key? I hadn't moved from the living room. The intercom hadn't rung. While thinking if I had forgotten to lock the door, I saw my father-in-law wave a key.
We got a spare key from Finn, so now we can come anytime we want.
You're lying, right? I couldn't believe Finn would give them a spare key. When I said this reflexively, my mother-in-law glared at me harshly.
It's not a lie. Finn told us to look after you while he's away. Poor Finn, married to a wife who can't even manage the house.
Instead of managing it, Stacy, you're likely to wreck it. Finn must be regretting this marriage by now.
Their words made me indignant. I had never heard Finn say he regretted our marriage, and we had been living happily together. I've never wrecked the house. There are things I can't do, but I regularly hire a housekeeper. Perhaps offended by my rebuttal, the two began to say even worse things.
Hiring a housekeeper? How extravagant. If you were healthy, you wouldn't have that expense, would you? What do you think about that?
Exactly. A wife should live frugally and serve her husband. Stacy, aren't you the opposite?
You're just a useless complainer.
Their words made me hopeless. Seeing my distress, they seemed satisfied and began to roam around the living room and kitchen triumphantly.
Oh, this meat looks delicious. We'll have this for lunch.
Oh, there's good wine too. Finn must be earning well. Let's drink this as well.
I couldn't stop them from rummaging through the fridge and wine rack. I feared they would say even more terrible things if I tried to argue. That day, they did as they pleased, leaving the house in a mess before going home. Why is this happening? Did Finn really ask them to come? I looked around the messy house, too despondent to contact my husband and confirm. And the nightmare-like visits continued day after day.
You can't do anything. You know Finn wants a divorce, right?
You're really a worthless burden. Free my son.
Leave him already.
I endured their relentless insults for a whole week, leaving me completely depressed. Could my husband really be regretting our marriage as they say? Feeling down, I sat in the dark room after they left. Flashes of the time when I lost my parents in the accident came back and I couldn't stop crying.
Stacy, what's wrong? Did something happen?
The lights suddenly came on and Finn, with a surprised look, hurried over to me. Today was the day Finn returned from his overseas trip. I had even forgotten that, lost in my thoughts. The barrage of insults had left my mind numb, and I started crying even more. Finn, let's get a divorce.
What? Why would you say that?
Because I'm a burden. You gave your parents a key and asked them to check on me, didn't you? When I tearfully told him about the past week, my husband looked astonished.
Me? Giving my parents a key and asking them to check on you? And saying I want a divorce? That's impossible.
Hearing my husband clearly deny it made my tears finally stop.
Stacy, I'm sorry. My parents have made you go through so much.
Well, I should have called or messaged you, but their words made me so depressed.
It's understandable. You've had a tough past. Just when you were starting to overcome it, this is unforgivable. But how did they get a key to our house?
My husband, looking serious, pondered for a while.
I'll have to talk to them directly. They have a knack for taking action. What are they up to?
If their own son says so, it means his parents are the type of people who would do anything for their goals. As I came to my senses, I felt a bubbling anger at the sheer cruelty of their lies. No matter what they're planning, it's unforgivable. Insulting me like that? Even though they're your parents, I can't stand it.
Yeah, I no longer consider them my parents.
But how can we expose their intentions? As I worried, Finn took out his phone.
I'll reschedule my next trip.
Why?
Because...
As I listened to my husband's explanation, I understood. As their son who knew them inside out, Finn could see through their intentions. I will definitely expose the plot of the two who insulted me without hesitation. People who dig into others' painful pasts cannot be forgiven. One day, while my husband and I were relaxing at home, as expected, the front door opened and we heard the noisy footsteps of his parents.
Stacy, I'm sure you're spending another lazy day.
The two entered the living room and were surprised to see both Finn and me there.
Oh, why is Finn here?
Finn, what about your trip?
I moved forward resolutely in front of the two who were flustered by the unexpected situation of my husband being home. You two were targeting Finn's absence to come here, weren't you?
What are you talking about? We couldn't have known about Finn's trip schedule.
That's right, it's a coincidence. I actually wanted to see Finn.
The two were flustered, not expecting my husband to be home, and I pressed them further. Last time you came, you sneakily looked at the calendar in the bedroom. All our plans are written there.
I didn't change the calendar plans and postponed my trip. And I never gave you a key. Why lie about it?
And worrying about our lives is a lie too, isn't it? Why did you suddenly show up? Cornered by our questions, the two became desperate and started insulting me again. My mother-in-law, sweating nervously, growled.
You're so rude, you useless daughter-in-law. Don't talk back until you've earned enough money on your own.
That's right. Finn wouldn't want a wife who can't do housework or earn money, right? No need to protect her. Tell us the truth, Finn.
Stop belittling Stacy. I want to be with her.
Seeing their son defending me, their faces twisted in anger.
A useless freeloader can never be accepted as a daughter-in-law. You could remarry a much better lady. Get a divorce.
No one will look down on you for dishing a wife with no family and no income. People will pity you.
I signaled to my husband, who was about to argue, and calmly spoke. I don't work for a company, but I do have a job. And I do have an income, you know.
What? Impossible. Don't say something so ridiculous. You can't go out alone.
My father-in-law sneered arrogantly, while my mother-in-law laughed at my wheelchair. I was furious, but I knew better than to get caught up in their pace. I smiled back. I actually didn't realize until Finn suggested it, but nowadays you can work from home. Thanks to Finn's encouragement and support, I started posting covers of opera songs. Finn's clients, music school students, posted their performances as a hobby, and Finn suggested I do the same. When I uploaded a video of me singing the magic flute, it got a great response. I'm now a YouTuber with a significant number of subscribers. My initial videos were quite amateurish, but I sang with professional seriousness and confidence. The positive comments boosted my spirits and I kept uploading videos. As a result, my subscriber count kept increasing. Hearing this, their faces filled with confusion.
Uploading videos? And what is this? The magic flute? Some kind of booze?
No, dear. How embarrassing. It's a name of an idol group.
Finn finally spoke to his ignorant parents.
It's a famous opera composed by Mozart.
He sighed at their lack of culture.
Stacy is an opera singer, so she sings opera and other requested songs on her channel. Opera, we knew that. Of course we knew it was opera.
Yes, don't act so high and mighty. So, Stacy, you're just singing then. What's so great about that? You're still a burden to Finn.
Unable to grasp the concept of earning money from videos, they continued to rant.
You're only singing and have no knowledge. You can't do housework and have no family support.
That's right. Even if you have a degree, you only sang for it. Finn deserves someone better.
They glanced sideways at my husband. Noticing their looks, Finn sighed deeply.
If you have something to say it clearly. What's the reason for suddenly coming here and picking on Stacy?
Finn's words made them look at each other and get serious.
Finn, actually, there is a girl we want you to marry.
She's the daughter of a local landowner. She owns a lot of land nearby. She's an only child, so when her parents are gone, it'll all be yours, Finn.
What?
My husband and I were dumbfounded by the sudden proposal, but the two pressed Finn seriously.
Don't worry, Finn. Nowadays being divorced isn't a big deal. The problem is with your wife. Get divorced quickly and remarry her.
Right. So Stacy signed the divorce papers. A singing parasite is a disgrace to our family. Leave Finn already.
They were so close, possibly about to grab onto me, so I backed away in my wheelchair. What are you saying?
Yeah, both of you have no sense.
My husband stood protectively between me and his parents, but they didn't back down.
Who has no sense? If you divorce her and remarry, not only you, but we'll all benefit from it.
Finn, it's time to give back to your parents. Divorce that useless singer. The girl you're going to remarry graduated from a prestigious school and can do all household chores. We already told her you'll be divorced, so no worries there.
My husband snapped at their selfish motives.
In the end, you only think of yourselves. I'm not interested in marrying a landowner's daughter. Stacy is a millionaire, so I'm not worried. I'll have Stacy support me from now on.
Hearing Finn's confident words, their faces turned pale and their eyes lit up with greed.
What? Why does Stacy have that much money?
I felt deep contempt for them as dollar signs seemed to shine in their eyes. Finn explained smoothly.
You may not know, but if a video goes viral these days, you can earn a lot. Really?
Oh, Stacy, why didn't you tell us sooner?
Their attitude changed completely and they smiled brightly at me. My husband continued.
Stacy is getting many concert offers from overseas. My trips are for negotiations. Stacy will get busier soon and might join the ranks of international celebrities.
They jumped in joy and cozied up to me, talking sweetly.
I'm so sorry for not knowing. We just wanted to test your resilience.
Yeah, Stacy, you're amazing. A global diva, as expected of our son's wife.
Their second sudden change of attitude left me speechless. They continued in front of my open-mouthed silence.
Since Stacy's busy singing, we should move in and take care of the house then.
Yes, that's right. Stacy, you can go overseas and sing opera without worry. Is it okay to move in tomorrow?
Their absurd proposal made me dizzy, and I felt that continuing this conversation would make me faint. Finn calmly looked back at me.
What do you think?
Taking a deep breath, I declared in a low voice, There's no way I would live with you two, and there's no way I'd support you. My resolute words made them gasp.
What? Stacy? Don't be so stubborn. We're offering to help you bring your wonderful singing to the world.
Exactly. If we're here, you can earn money without worrying about the house. With $1 million, supporting us wouldn't be a burden.
Smiling, I unleashed my anger at them. Only singing to earn my degree? Unable to do housework? A worthless burden? I remember everything you said to insult me.
But that's because we didn't know you had $1 million.
So money makes it all okay? You're despicable. I never want to see you again. Despite my words, they kept arguing, so Finn intervened.
Well, aren't you trespassing today? What? And how did you get our key in the first place? Depending on the situation, it could be theft. Do I need to call the police? No. We just noted the master key code from the drawer.
Master key? I asked, and they quickly explained.
Yes, you can easily make a duplicate if you know the master key code these days.
It's convenient, right? So we didn't take the key, so don't call the police.
That's stalking behavior, I gasped, and Finn sighed deeply.
These two are hopeless. I can't stand this anymore. I think we should call the police.
Seeing Finn's determined face, they turned pale. My father-in-law desperately shouted at my husband.
The police? But we're your parents. It doesn't matter, I'm cutting ties with you two.
As Finn took out his phone, they hurried to stop him.
Wait, Finn, it's a misunderstanding. We'll leave the key and go. We can't live our life if the neighbors find out our son called the police on us.
They fled in a hurry, still glancing regretfully at me. In the now quiet living room, I smiled wryly at my husband. Well, maybe a millionaire was an exaggeration, but the overseas tour is true. I don't have $1 million. But as Finn said, my videos are going viral and I am gaining international attention. Finn has quit his job to support me. Now, without my in-laws, I can focus on singing. I sighed with relief. After leaving our house, the in-laws' situation worsened as expected. Their luxurious lifestyle crumbled spectacularly. Realizing they couldn't have the comfortable retirement they had dreamed of, they tried to use their son as a sacrificial pawn. They proposed a marriage with a family owning the most land in the neighborhood, but their shallow scheme was quickly thwarted by us. The prospective family not only learned for the first time that Finn wasn't divorced, but also became furious at the way they tried to push us into despair. Furthermore, it was revealed that their intentions were purely monetary, leading to a flood of criticism from the neighbors. Unable to bear the disgrace, the prideful couple left their familiar town. Their lavish spendings had left them with zero savings. Their only pension was consumed by debt repayment. They had to sell their house and move into a shabby apartment. But I felt no pity for them. Our life, on the other hand, became wonderfully busy. The videos we posted maintained its popularity, and responding to requests was enjoyable. Finn honed his video editing skills, and together we uploaded many videos as a couple. The overseas concerts were a great success, leading to more offers, both domestic and international. The most gratifying part was receiving messages from people inspired by my perseverance in pursuing my dreams despite losing both legs. I never imagined that continuing what I love could encourage others. Beside me is my kind husband who fully supports everything I want to do. And around the world are fans who looked forward to my singing. I am blessed with my life right now.
My mill called me home and then told me, "No dinner for you. Sleep in the garage." Following her orders led to her and my Sil losing everything.
I'm Carla, 35 years old. I work part-time to help my busy husband while also being a homemaker. My husband Gary is a bit older than me, and he's a calm and kind person. We've been together for over 6 years, and we've hardly ever had any serious fights. We both moved to the city, so our families are far away. The first time I met his family was when we went to introduce ourselves before our wedding. We didn't see much of each other after that because the wedding followed shortly. There were no issues during the introduction, and I remember Gary's mom Stacy and his sister Nora being really happy. They said things like, "I'm so glad my son is marrying such a cute girl. I've always wanted an older sister." My parents were also relieved to see how happy they were. I thought I had a good relationship with my in-laws, but I started to feel something was off when we went back home for our first Christmas as a married couple. Stacy called beforehand and said, "I want to prepare a feast, so let me know what you like and dislike." I was touched by her thoughtfulness and honestly told her I like meat, but am not a fan of seafood. However, on our first night back, the dinner table was full of shrimp and crab, which I don't like. I was surprised, but I thought maybe she had misheard me. I don't have any allergies, so I didn't think it was a big deal. Gary also told her, "Carla doesn't like seafood, so can we have something else tomorrow?" And she apologized, saying, "I'm sorry, I must have misunderstood." While I was busy peeling shrimp for Gary, I looked up and saw Stacy smirking at me. It felt weird, and I wondered for the first time if she did it on purpose. After Gary's comment, we didn't have seafood for the rest of our stay, but we also didn't have any meat dishes. And before the 4th of July, Stacy called again to ask what I liked and disliked. Remembering what happened last time, I told her, "I like everything except seafood." At the party, there was shrimp cocktail, but there were plenty of other dishes, so it wasn't a problem. However, little things started to irritate me, like the hot water being turned off while I was showering or finding footprints on my boots. When I asked Stacy about it, she said things like, "Oh, I didn't realize you were in the shower." Or, "I accidentally stepped on them." I couldn't shake the feeling something was wrong. When I responded with a confused, "Huh," Nora glared at me and said, "Are you saying Mom is doing it on purpose?" Stacy, looking hurt, stood behind her like a victim. But then Gary's dad, Scott, who seemed oblivious, said,
"Stacy, are you losing your mind?"
Her expression turned furious. Even someone as dense as me could see it now. This was harassment. After our second family gathering, I was sure of it and didn't want to visit my in-laws anymore. I told Gary, Your mom is being mean to me.
She is? Maybe she's losing her mind?
He was just as clueless as ever and thought maybe she was just confused. His comment reminded me of what Scott had said last year. So I came up with a plan to make Gary understand. I'll call your mom now and you remember what I say, okay? I told him, then called Stacy on speakerphone. Hi, Stacy. I've been feeling nauseous when I eat beef lately. Could you prepare something else for Christmas this year? Okie doke, she replied. Gary looked puzzled.
But you ate beef ribs last night,
he said. Yeah, what I just told your mom was a lie, I said to him. Just remember this conversation until Christmas. When Christmas came, the table was filled with beef dishes. Steak, stew, stroganoff, you name it. My husband couldn't believe his eyes. He finally understood what Stacy and Nora were doing.
Oh, this looks amazing,
Scott said, clueless as usual. I went all out, Stacy laughed. Gary, these are all your favorites, Nora said, grinning knowingly. Just as I predicted. As I was trying to come up with how to confront them, Gary stood up and pulled me with him.
Mom, you really have been harassing Carla, haven't you?
He said. Stacy and Nora panicked. What are you talking about? I don't harass Carla. Yeah, Mom's right. She cooked all those dishes for her.
Well, guess what? I was there when she told you on the phone she couldn't eat beef, but look at this spread. You did it on purpose.
Their faces turned pale.
Let's go, Carla.
Wait a minute. Then Gary's dad said,
Stacy, Nora, tell me what you've been doing to Carla.
Usually cheerful and composed, he now glared at them with a stormy expression. Amidst the shouting and crying of Stacy and Nora, we left the house. On the way home, Gary kept apologizing. We decided not to visit his family for a while. I knew that to Gary, his mother was kind and his sister was sweet, so considering his shock, I felt bad. Scott later wrote us a letter saying we didn't have to see them until they sincerely apologized. He even included a gift card saying,
Please buy something you really like with this and enjoy.
Life without visiting the in-laws was peaceful, until we got news that Scott had collapsed. Gary was unsure about visiting, but I encouraged him saying, Your dad is more important than my feelings. And we headed to the hospital together. We saw Stacy and Nora for the first time in a year and went straight to Scott's hospital room. He wasn't in any immediate danger, but the extent of his recovery would depend on his rehab. Seeing Gary's sad and worried face reminded me of how he stayed away from his family to protect me. Seeing Scott, my husband and I felt a bit relieved. There's a great restaurant with delicious German sausages near the hospital. Carla, you like meat, right? Stacy asked, looking at us cautiously. I was surprised she remembered what I liked. We haven't had much appetite since Dad got sick. We need to eat well and stay strong, Nora added, acting all sweet again. Since it was a public place, we decided to go along with her suggestion and eat out. And the German sausages were really delicious. Under different circumstances, I would have eaten them with a big smile on my face. Is it good? Order more if you want. Nora was also in a good mood, saying, I'm so happy to eat with you guys. The atmosphere was surprisingly pleasant, which made me uneasy. As we left the restaurant and headed to the station, we ran into one of Gary's old classmates. They were having a get-together, a mini reunion, and invited him. He looked like he wanted to go. Oh, sweetie, you haven't seen them in a while. You should go. You can stay at our place tonight, if Carla is okay with it, that is. Stacy and Nora glanced at me, waiting for my response. I couldn't refuse. He had stayed away from his hometown and friends because of me. Go ahead, Gary. Go have fun, I told him. He was surprised, but happy. Stacy and Nora seemed to have genuinely changed. I let my guard down, thinking we could handle one night. But people don't change that easily, as I would soon find out in the most unpleasant way. Gary left for the reunion, and we returned to the house.
Carla, let's have dinner,
Stacy called. I was relieved to see nothing unusual on the table.
Oh, I forgot I got a cake for you two. It's in the freezer in the garage. Could you bring it in so that it could thaw out as we have dinner?
She asked. I agreed, and I didn't feel like a servant. I opened the door to the garage and the freezer, and there was indeed a cake inside. And then, I heard the door lock behind me. I had a bad feeling and tried to open the garage door, but it was locked.
Didn't think we'd get a chance to pay you back so soon.
I heard their nasty voices and saw two smirking faces pressed against the upper window of the door. The memories from a year ago came rushing back. They hadn't changed at all.
You tricked me,
I said.
No, you tricked us and tried to keep our son to yourself. Did you enjoy it?
I just showed Gary the truth.
That kind of attitude is no fun. Dragging him into a fight between women is unfair,
Nora added. Isn't it more unfair to gang up on me? I shot back.
You're so annoying. Apologize for what happened last year, and maybe we'll let you in,
Stacy said, looking down on me. Why should I apologize? I did nothing wrong.
Because you threw a tantrum and Gary couldn't see his dad,
Nora accused. Well, I hesitated, feeling guilty for keeping him away from his family. She wasn't wrong about that.
We won't let a dirty woman like you in the house. Sleep in the garage tonight. No dinner. If you want in, apologize, follow my rules, and make sure Gary knows that it was all misunderstanding. Got it?
Stacy said, then left. I stared at the locked door, shocked. Was it my fault? Should I have endured more so Gary could see his dad? I could hear happy voices from the house. No, Stacy and Nora's harassment was the problem. If they had been nicer, none of this would have happened. No matter how awful they were still my husband's family. I was willing to forgive them if they showed remorse, but I'd had enough. If they wanted to fight, I was ready. I pounded on the door over and over again.
Stacy! Nora! Let me in!
Of course, they ignored me. But the neighbor heard the noise and opened her door. She looked at me concerned. Sorry to bother you. I'm their daughter-in-law. Stacy told me to sleep in the garage tonight, I said, trying to lie down. The woman rushed over and helped me up, listening to my story. Turns out, she was Gary's childhood friend's mom and close to Stacy. At first, she was shocked by Stacy and Nora's harassment, but seeing me without my wallet or phone, drenched in sweat on that muggy night, she believed me. She suggested we confront Stacy together, but I was scared of their retaliation without Gary there. I asked her to take me to the bar where he was. Luckily, her son was also at the reunion, so she agreed to take me there. Seeing me sweaty and dirty, Gary was shocked. Oh, Carla, I'm sorry you had to go through that. If I hadn't come to the party, this wouldn't have happened, he said. It's not your fault. I told you to go. The real culprits were Stacy and Nora. There were 6 of Gary's classmates at the reunion, and I felt embarrassed showing up in such a mess. But his friends were angry for me and supportive. They ordered me food and drinks, which revived me. I was about to stand up and leave the place with Gary to confront them when one of his female friends made a suggestion. The plan was for me to stay at her house while he went back to his parents' house as if nothing had happened. Then he would ask them, "Where's Carla?" and see how they would react. It would show their level of remorse and help gather evidence, so we decided to go with the plan. The reunion ended around 11 p.m. I went to Gary's friend's house and he went home. The next morning, I returned to find Gary standing outside with a tired-looking Stacy and Nora. They looked relieved for a moment, but then rushed at me, furious.
How dare you stay out all night? We were worried sick staying up waiting for you,
Stacy yelled. As planned, Gary must have kept my whereabouts a secret. You locked me out, I said.
No, I didn't. You ran off on your own, probably looking for men, she accused.
After kicking me out, Stacy and Nora must have thought they could lie to Gary since there was no proof. Or maybe they thought I would break down and apologize. Later, he told me that after they kicked me out, they had a drink and fell asleep, completely forgetting about me. When he returned and they saw I wasn't in the garage, they panicked and lied, saying I had gone out and hadn't come back. Their short-sightedness was laughable. Stacy, I pounded on the door many times. The noise must have turned on the security camera, and it must have been recorded, I said. What? Stacy gasped. She must have forgotten she had bragged about the new monitor with the latest technology. Mom, the neighbor across the street saw Carla trying to sleep in the garage. She joined us at the reunion last night, and we talked about everything. I came back alone to see your reaction. Carla stayed with my friend because she couldn't come back to a house with such a monstrous mother-in-law and sister-in-law. I came back first to see how you would behave. The realization that their mistreatment of me was now known to Gary and the whole neighborhood turned their faces pale. Instead of reflecting on your actions when Carla went missing, you blamed her. It's unbelievable. I will never forgive you for this. We're never coming back.
No!
Stacy and Nora both cried out in anguish. Ignoring them, we left the house. After that, we never returned as promised. The only concern I had was about Scott, but when he was transferred to a rehab hospital, we arranged for him to be in our area. He was so disappointed in Stacy and Nora that he didn't want to see them for a while. Helping him with his rehab made Gary happy, and his previously dark expression lightened up. I also enjoyed spending time with Scott, who was kind and humorous. Meanwhile, the in-laws' house became infamous in the neighborhood for their harassment. Gary's friend's mother and his friends told everyone the details of what happened to me. People found it hard to believe because Stacy and Nora had a good public image, but the vivid stories and witnesses of our argument added credibility. Stacy and Nora became recluses, rarely leaving the house. Occasionally, they sent apology emails to Gary and Scott, but never to me. They didn't seem genuinely remorseful. But I had no intention of forgiving them, and so I didn't need their apologies. Lately, I've become hooked on camping. I would never go back to their house, but I thought I should be prepared for emergencies. Collecting camping gear and going on actual trips made me love it. Seeing me plan a camping trip for the upcoming holidays, Gary smiled wryly. He was also getting into camping because of me. "You're one tough cookie, Carla," he said. "Don't you like tough wives?" "Oh, I love them, especially you," he replied. And so, my strong-willed self and my easygoing, kind husband continue to enjoy our life together.